How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Swift Journey. In today's episode, we'll be learning about variables. Let's get right into it. Now, what are variables? A variable is something that stores information of certain types within Swift. These being, for example, strings, integers, or booleans. Now, depending on what we set the variable to, it can allow us to change. For example, var, or variable for short, allows us to change, whereas if we set the variable to let, which is a constant, we are not able to change. Also, variables are typically written in camel case, with the first word being lowercase and all other words after that being uppercase. Okay, with that brief summary covered, let's get started. First, let's set a variable to something as simple as name. So we'll do var, then the variable name, then what we want to store it as, and in this case it will be a string. As we learnt in the previous episode, we can use print to see what is actually stored within the name. And as you can see on the results on the right hand side, we get the name of tutto once we print. Cool. Now, also, to help, we can also make a note, and we can create the variable name and store the string of tutto in it, or whatever name you want it to be. I like making notes when I do variables or other things in general, just so if it's more complex, when I come back to it, I'm aware of what I had done previously. Okay, cool. What we'll do now is we will practice changing the variable. So, using var, because we cannot change a variable with let, as let is a constant and constant remain constant, we will create a var score of 0. And to practice print again, we'll print just to make sure that it shows 0. Because we set var score to 0 and used var, we can then take the score variable and make it equal to 10, for example, or whatever number you would like. Then, if we simply print score, we will see then that the score changes from 0 to 10, therefore showing that if we use var for a variable, we can change it to whatever we want. So again, I'll just make a note, feel free to copy it along. Because we use var, we are able to make changes to our stored value. Okay, cool. Now let's again show the capability of the variable var. So what we'll do, just below the previous example, we will do var player score. We'll set the player score to an integer of 100. Then we will take the player score and we will then use said player score itself and we will add 50. So what we'll do then is we'll then print the player score so we see it on the results on the right hand side. So because we used var player score, we are then able to add to this variable, whereas if we had used let, we would not be able to do that. Just to show this differentiation, let's change the var variable to a let variable constant and see what we get. So we'll go down to our player score, we'll double tap on the var and we'll change var to let. And as you can see, we get the error of cannot assign because let is a constant. And as you can see there, Apple actually allow us to change it without us needing to do anything. This is really useful, as sometimes Apple can just give you the answer and help you with the code. So we'll click apply and there var comes back. Okay, cool. Now let's practice with the various types that we can set variables to, i.e. being strings, integers or booleans. So we'll set var player name to Bob. We'll set player age to 20. We'll then set player level to 3. And because we haven't used a boolean yet, let's create a boolean of var has completed tutorial, and we'll set that to true. Okay, once that's done, we'll now print all of those just to get even more practice of using the print syntax within Swift. And as you can see, once we apply all of them, we will then get them in the results sidebar on the right. We would also get them in the console if we click that play button to run our code as well. Okay, with that done, I think that's a good place to stop, but we'll just add a few more comments just so we can remind ourselves in the future when we come back to it what things are. So for example, this player name variable is a string, this player age is an integer, this player level is an integer, and has completed tutorial is set to true, so it is a boolean. Okay, nice. And with that, we've gone through variables, and just to cover it again, a variable is something that stores information of types, being strings, integers, or booleans. It is typically able to be changed depending on whether you set it to var or let. Remember, with var allowing to change and let being a constant not being able to change. And it is typically written in camel casing. Okay, if you followed along, well done, nice job. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how variables work in Swift. If you did enjoy the video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.